So I just finished watching both seasons of Asterisk Wars, and I wanted to give a full review. So to keep it short and simple, in the 20th century, a disaster struck upon many cities called Inversia. This catastrophic event led to the destruction of many cities. It then led to the development of many children with these superpowers called Genestella. With these abilities, academies were formed to create students that have the potential to participate in these tournaments called festas, where they can fight either out of corporate interest or personal gain. If they succeed, they are given a chance to make their wishes come true. This then leads to our main character Ayoto Amagiri, who is in search of his sister who has basically vanished. This then leads him to Saidakan Academy. But before officially attending his first day at the academy, he runs into a student named Julius Alexa von Riesfeld, who is an actual princess. But being the sometimes clueless main character Ayoto is, he accidentally sees her naked while trying to return her handkerchief that had fallen out the window. She then challenges him to a duel, but is then assisted by the student council president Claudia to stop the duel between the two, who is also the second highest ranking student of the academy, which starts the inevitable harem. This harem later includes the student Saya Sasumiya, the childhood friend of Ayoto and gunslinger, and Kirin Todo, the highest ranking student of the academy and Pakelali of the group. So basically something led to another, and Ayoto and Julius became partners in the annual festus along with Kirin and Saya to hopefully achieve their own dream. So with shows like Asterisk Wars, I have the patience and sometimes interest to understand and see how things play out. Will Ayoto find and or save his sister? Will Julius become queen and change her country for the better? What is Claudia's motives for participating in her own festus? When will these things be answered? Well, they won't actually, because the show hasn't actually been greenlit for season 3 or OVA. The reason I wanted to talk about the ending first is because most of the character progression that the show actually has is literally halted. The story itself has its ups and downs also. Most of the time Ayoto's goal is mentioned but isn't focused on much after the first few episodes. You sometimes see occasional flashbacks of how much Ayoto cares about his sister and why it's a pressing matter to find her, but it feels like the plot puts the goals of his classmates before his, even though in the beginning of the show it was an urgent matter. Kirin wants to release her father from jail, who murdered a human out of self-defense, but was jailed because he was a Genestella. Seo wants to show off the potential of her father's weaponry to hopefully get the respect that he deserves, and then Julius, who is a kind-hearted princess who wants to liberate her country from a corporation that keeps it in poverty in the interest of personal gain. And out of all these goals, Julius and Ayoto seem to be the most important when it comes to the progressing of the plot. Then there is the lack or care or even effort to actually introduce and explain the different groups that are mentioned or foreshadowed upon. During the festus, unlike the main group of characters fighting in the tournament, the people they fight against are forgettable. They have no purpose but to delay the main characters, and they are given a slight explanation relating to the plot in the different academies, which, like I said, isn't even established either, while also showing no real advantage against the main group. Then there's the fight scenes, which were pretty intense. The fights themselves made use of the arenas and settings they were in, and sometimes switching between animation styles for the better to fuel the intensity, but unfortunately when a fight ends, it literally ends with one fell swoop of a sword after the character creates a new move out of nowhere. Now, the problem isn't the trope of the main character having secret OP abilities, because in action-centric anime, this creates the feeling of epic for the show, but it's disappointing to see fights literally end in one sword swoop. Then there's my overall thoughts on the show, which I will say that it was okay at best. It's honestly just an anime, in the action genre that had an actually interesting story. I didn't feel like the story was pointless, even though it switched its focus from the main plot multiple times, because then it would be over too quickly, I feel, if they had stayed on topic the entire time. The setting itself was a bit unrefreshing, because everything in anime has to be done in a high school setting, but at least going to an academy to learn how to fight other students gladiator style made it a little bit more forgiving. The characters' personalities themselves aren't too complicated, but at least I felt like rooting for them to win. The show is okay, and I hope that because of this review you guys may want to support it enough with things like DVDs, Blu-rays, or even merchandise to hopefully get a decent ending for the show. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this review, and I will see you guys next time.